It is officially September 30th, which means I think it is safe to say that Team September, when it comes to the Switch 2 reveal, was wrong. It also means that for the first time in 9 years, we did not get a Nintendo Direct in September. We did not get any major Nintendo news in September. So today we're talking about how Nintendo is kind of in uncharted territory at this point. Let's talk about it. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Good Monday morning if you are watching this on a Monday morning. Today I wanted to talk about how Nintendo is kind of in uncharted territory. View this as an update video, I guess. On all of the hubbub from 2 weeks ago about how most of us kind of were expecting some sort of Switch 2 announcement the week of the 19th or on the 19th before TGS, that did not happen. So today I wanted to talk about what is going on with their marketing and when we can actually expect some news from Nintendo. Not necessarily relating to the Switch 2, though obviously we will talk about that. Just when are they going to speak at all? When are they going to have any new information for us? And it's true. I know I'll get a lot of comments on this video saying, oh, it was always going to be October, September never made sense, yada, yada, yada. I'm so smart. We'll get to that in a little bit. But beyond that, beyond the Switch 2 announcement timing, you cannot deny the fact that Nintendo is completely in uncharted territory when it comes to their marketing. Having no September Direct is very weird. We have had one every single year since I believe 2015, if not 2015, since 2016, with the 3DS Direct a few weeks before the NX was announced. And then from there, we've had a September Direct every year of the Switch generation. Even during COVID, we had the Mario 35 Direct, for example. And even if there is a smaller Direct or something, there's still other major announcements surrounding it. So during 2020, for example, during the pandemic, even though we only had a Mario 35 Direct, we still had Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity announced on Twitter and on social media and through a press release and all that, right? So not having any major Nintendo news at all in September, this is the first time that has happened in a very, very long time, and it is undeniable that that is very weird. And yeah, this is a little bit older, but it's also very weird that we didn't get a Pokemon Presents in August. So while it's true we got a partner showcase and an Indie World at the tail end of August, no Pokemon Presents, no General Direct, no first-party Nintendo news at all over the past 2 months. Really, we haven't had any major news since June. Is definitely peculiar. We have never been this close to February and March without release dates for games, without new game announcements, without release dates. Usually the games releasing in January, February, and March are announced and dated in the September Direct. There are some rare examples of this not being the case. I think the most notable one would be 2022, where they didn't announce Bayonetta Origins, which was their big March game that year. That wasn't announced until December at the Game Awards. However, I think it's clear that the only reason that was the case was because they had to wait for Bayonetta 3 to be released before they could even announce Origins, because it kind of tied into stuff from Bayonetta 3. But for the most part, by this point in the year, we know what's releasing in at least February, but also usually March, and we have concrete dates for those games. Which means, in my opinion, it is about to go down. So even if the Switch 2 isn't getting announced until January, which, by the way, I want to remind you, I actually did make a video talking about like why we might want to prepare ourselves mentally for that being the case. Even though I didn't necessarily believe it, I did make a video being like, hey guys, there's a chance this thing doesn't get announced in 2024. So I did make a video on that, but even if we don't get it until January, we do need some news very soon for at least the February game, or if there's no February game next year, which I kind of doubt, we would need news for the March game. Even if that is Metroid Prime 4 or Pokemon Legends EA, I would lean toward Metroid Prime 4 because we've actually seen that game. We still need more information on it. We need an actual release date because they will need to start marketing that soon. We're about to get Mario Party in a few weeks. Then it'll be Mario and Luigi. And then after that, the only game Nintendo has a date on the calendar for will be Donkey Kong Country Returns. We cannot go into 2025 having that be the only game from Nintendo with a release date. We just can't. But here's the thing, right? A lot of us thought the Switch 2 would be announced in September because of that lack of information on the first half of 2025. You can go back and watch my videos over the past 2 years. I was pretty confidently saying October 2024 for the reveal for a very long time. It wasn't until August when we started hearing rumblings of presentations being moved up, and then we actually saw that come to fruition with the Direct Partner Showcase happening in August, that I was fully on board with September. Of course, TGS also played a part in that. I thought it would make sense for them to announce it beforehand, but that did not come to fruition. However, all of that weirdness that's happened over the past 5 or 6 weeks still applies. It still indicates that there would be some sort of reveal this month or this year at the very least, and I really think if you're looking at a Switch 2 reveal announcement time slot for 2024, it basically has to be this month. It'd be very, very weird for them to announce a new console during the holiday period. We're already inching closer than I'd imagine they would like. You know, imagine if they announced this console the week before Black Friday. That'd be weird. I guess it's not completely unprecedented for a console to be announced in December. The Series X was actually announced at the Game Awards in 2019. Not sure if Nintendo really wants to follow Xbox's model there, but I just think it'd be very weird and kind of in poor taste to announce a new console weeks before Black Friday, weeks before the holiday season. So if it's getting announced this year, I really do feel like we're on a pretty strict time limits of October. The latest they can do it is like the last week of October. That's how I feel. And if the Switch 2 is releasing in the first half of next year, which I do really, really hope is the case, it kind of needs to be announced this month. Like this is like the final stand. I don't really see a scenario where this thing gets announced in January and releases in March or April, maybe May, maybe, right? But I know there's a lot of people that think Nintendo will release a console during the summer. I really don't think that makes sense. That's very rare. You can look back at like some very old consoles and they did that for, but for the most part, their consoles either release in March, April, or November. That is the track record, or the common theme with most release dates when it comes to Nintendo consoles. I don't think June makes sense. They're definitely not going to do July or August. Maybe September could work, right? But at that point, we're basically talking holiday. But yeah, I really hope it's announced in October because that strengthens the idea of it releasing in March or April, which I really want to see. I do not want to have to wait until next holiday 2025, for this console. I'd be very curious to see if that's the case, though. Like, what does Nintendo have in store for us? What games are they cooking for the Switch 1 to tide us over? At that point, I think it'd be safe to say that Prime 4 and Legends EA are just base Switch 1 games, if that is the case, right? I do think Legends EA is regardless. But Metroid Prime, I'm kind of sold on the idea of Metroid Prime 4 being cross-gen, at least as of right now, and that's if the Switch 2 actually releases in the first half of next year. If that's not the case, if Switch 2 is November 2025, we're probably getting Prime 4 in like March, honestly. So if there is no Switch 2 announcement this year, I would expect at least a nice little Prime 4 deep dive that gives us that release date for March. Nintendo usually has a big game in March. They have done that pretty much every year of the Switch, with the only major exception, I think, being 2023, where Tears of the Kingdom came out in May for some reason. I'm not quite sure why they did that, but usually we have our big game in March. And barring any Switch 2 cross-gen shenanigans, I feel like that would probably be Prime 4. I guess it could also be Legends EA. We'll have to wait and see. But let's talk about that, right? If it is happening in October, when would it actually be? I've seen a lot of people speculating that it won't be this week because the Nintendo Museum is opening. I don't think that really correlates or really makes any sense. I don't think Nintendo would care. They've already done all the big press preview stuff that they need to do for the museum. I don't think that has any bearing on whether or not the Switch 2 would be announced this week. So frankly, it's Monday morning right now. Maybe we start hearing some rumblings. Maybe it could be this week. Honestly, I think it's completely on the table. I think there are some holidays in certain regions, but for the most part, the first week of October is completely empty. And I think if they're going to announce it this month, having it further away from Mario Party would be better than having it closer. So right now, I know most people are expecting a reveal the week of the 6th. So from the 6th through the 12th. I think most people have settled on the 10th, which is a Thursday. Maybe, and that's also possible, right? Like, it could be really any time from now to then. I don't think it would be the third week, so from the 13th through the 19th, because that's the week that Mario Party releases. Nintendo could do something unprecedented, right? Like, they could do something a little different here and announce it the week that a new game comes out. I don't really think those two things would clash that much, but at the same time, like, why do that if you could avoid it, you know? And also, on that subject really quick, I've seen so many people being like, I knew it wasn't September because they weren't going to announce it right before a new Zelda game comes out. And then those same people are saying it's going to be announced the week before Mario Party comes out. I promise you, it wasn't not announced in September because of Zelda. It wasn't announced in September because it simply wasn't ready to be announced in September. They weren't ready to announce it. Echoes of Wisdom had no impact on it not being announced in September, because if we're following that logic, that means it cannot be announced until after Mario Party releases, because Mario Party Jamboree is absolutely a bigger game for Nintendo than Echoes of Wisdom. It will absolutely sell. Honestly, with the kind of soft critical reception to Echoes of Wisdom, I wouldn't be surprised if Jamboree sells straight up 3 times the amount of Echoes of Wisdom. So that is their biggest game release this year, and if we're going to follow that logic, it doesn't really make sense for them to announce it that week, and if we're following the whole logic of people saying, like, oh, they weren't going to announce it in September at all because of Zelda, you can't really say they're going to announce it in October then either, because Mario Party Jamboree is a bigger game. I'm not saying I think that, but I did want to mention it because it is very funny seeing those comments, and I'm just like, you don't understand how this works, do you? But yeah, looking at the calendar, if they were to announce it this month, I would say the most likely, as much as I want it to be in the first 2 weeks of October, right? The most likely time frame would probably be towards the end of October, which is funny because that puts us exactly in the same time frame as the Switch was revealed. The Switch was revealed on October 19th, 2016, I think. So we're talking in a similar time frame of like October 21st through like the 24th, 25th, somewhere in there. They could also do it the following week. Of course, Halloween is that week. Basically, if it's not announced by November 5th, which is when their next investors meeting in, I would say it's pretty much over for it being announced this year, and I would say that's a pretty major final nail in the coffin for it even releasing in the first half of 2025. But I am going to remain optimistic. I am going to remain hopeful that we get some news in the very near future, be that this week, be that next week, or be that the final week of October. Either way, even if it's not Switch 2 related, we're due for some news very soon, even if it's just new information or release dates for Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Legends EA. One of those games is probably releasing in February or March. And if not that, I mean, I've seen some people throw this idea out there. I don't really know if it makes sense, but what if we get like a direct or something in this month? I don't really think that makes sense. I don't know why they would have done this whole weird song and dance, not having a September direct, if they weren't doing some weird marketing, getting ready for Switch 2, right? Like, why would they do all that and then just have a regular direct in October? Especially when, you know, most of their major third-party Japanese developers would have already shown what they have to show, right? Like Atelier Yumiya and the new Room Factory game, those would have been in a regular Nintendo Direct. And if there was one coming so close, like, they would have just saved it for that. So it'd be cool if we got an October Nintendo Direct that has new trailers and everything for Prime 4, and they show Legends EA in there, and we get some new announcements for February, March, maybe that Fire Emblem 4 remake, maybe we get a new Kirby game, right? Like, that'd be awesome. I just don't really think that makes sense. So they could definitely do like just a trailer on Twitter or something for Prime 4 or Legends EA even. Maybe we get a Pokemon Presents also. I think that's actually a little bit likelier than a full direct. They can give us this information and give us new footage for these games without doing a big showcase that has multiple games in it, right? Like, they can totally do that. And if there's no Switch 2 this month, I think that will happen. But ultimately, I do think Switch 2 is going to happen this month. And if it's not this month, I mean, yeah, we're in it for the long haul, folks. We will be in it for the long haul. I'm saying January, but honestly, I mean, they said it would be announced by March 31st, 2025. They could wait until March 31st, 2025 if they really wanted to. So really, January is not even our final stop on this ride if it doesn't happen in October. We could really end up going all the way to March without an announcement, which could line up. That could line up. If it's releasing in November, that could make sense. But I'm still leaning towards that first half 2025 release. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. How are you feeling about the Switch 2 and also just Nintendo's news and marketing cycles in general? How are you feeling? When do you think we will actually see some information regarding their new games that are coming out in 2025? But also the Switch 2. When do you think we will see the reveal of this dang console that keeps evading us? It keeps eluding us. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, discussions, all that fun stuff. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, and check out my other channel at It's Amiibo. You guys have been killing it over on that channel, so I really appreciate the support there. But until next time, folks, peace!